Hello, everyone. Welcome to Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LotraStream. I am your community manager, Cordovan, and we have got an exciting show for you. We have big news that we just announced today. Later on in the show, at about 12:30ish, I'm going to have Severlin, our executive producer, join me live on the show. We're going to do some Q&A, really just leave it open to the room to ask whatever you want to ask about the news of the week. But before that, I have something that's been in the works for a couple of weeks now, and regardless of the news that we're announcing today, I wanted to get this stuff out because what's happening next week in game is the Midsummer Festival. So, with me here on the live stream for the first part of the show here is MVP. This is a content designer here with Standing Stone Games. It's someone maybe you are familiar with from you live streamed on Locher Stream.
Yes, I have.
So you've done it as much as I have. Yeah. Anyway, you're here to join me on the show this week because you've been working really with the start of the anniversary, but now with the Midsummer Festival to bring some real robustness and kind of new stuff to our event calendar here. So can you tell me
Yep.
just a little bit about what's up? What are we doing?
So yeah, in our endeavor to freshen up festivals going forward for a while anyway, I added a whole new area to the Midsummer Festival, and this takes place in the Shield Isles, which those of you with level cap characters have probably seen it. It's a tropical beach zone, basically, which is perfect for some summer fun. So that was my task, was to fill that with fun.
Very briefly adjusting your volume here slightly. Sorry about that.
Sure.
So with the anniversary event was you don't want to call it it was a first step really because we brought a handful of instances to the anniversary event, but we're doing something
Yep.
different here with Midsummer in that we're bringing a whole new landscape and quests specifically.
Yeah, it's a whole new island. We're not reusing one of the existing Shield Isles. A new island popped up from below the ocean, I suppose.
Hey, it
And
happens. No one
yeah,
noticed it
and
before. We just weren't looking that way. It's how
yeah,
game
maybe
dev
I don't
go.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Players are very keen though, and they did notice like almost exactly when it appeared that it appeared, which is pretty funny. Uh, yes, magically, says Scenario. How did that happen? Scenario made the island, in case you're wondering what I'm getting at. So yeah, it's a whole new little landscape area, and it's a pretty large space. So there's definitely room to expand. I made a decent amount of quests for this year, but there's definitely room for more going forward.
All right, I am clearing out a few bits of my desktop briefly so that I can actually see myself, the game client, and we go in game. So where am I right now is on a really one of our internal servers. This is actually whatever. I'm not going to say where it's from, but it's not a public live server, and this has the Midsummer stuff on it. And I'm on an admin character. I'm on my Cordovan character. So this is going to give us the opportunity to preview what'll be coming to the game next week here with the start of Midsummer Festival. And I'll actually call up the start and end times for that before I get too far along, but I just didn't do it yet. So the main thing to know, however, is how do you get there? Some people know how to get to Umbar, some people know how to get to the Shield Isles, people know how to get to Midsummer for the Midsummer Festival, but how do you get to this new part of the Midsummer Festival?
From pretty much anywhere you might expect Midsummer things to be. So the easiest way is where you are in the Prancing Pony. Everybody knows how to get to Bree. So yes, you can speak to that young lady there. She'll take you to the island. And there's
Let me
also,
pause real quick just for those
yep.
watching on camera. I did actually complete a dialogue bit before this, and now we're at the point of the initial travel to the Shield Isles. You sort of accept a quest and you get stuff. So,
Yep.
yeah.
And she'll allow you to, after the first vector quest, she will take you back there anytime you want to talk to her. And she gets around. She can be found in many different places in Middle Earth, including what's it called? This the tavern in Thorin's Hall, underneath everything.
Yep.
She's at the Midsummer Festival, Minas Tirith, right behind the in front of the city stables, behind the I forgot her name, the lady that does the dailies, that gives the daily. So people are probably going to be going there anyway.
Oh, that's true. I didn't actually do that on this admin character, but you probably do want to pick
Yeah.
up the wrapper quest before you do this, right?
So true story.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't want to go to Minas Tirith, you can pick up the wrapper from a guy here.
Okay.
So
Excellent.
he's inside the tavern,
All right.
because I knew there would be people who don't even want to go to Minas Tirith. So.
All right. So this is our first look see. Let me just take off the UI elements and let's do a little scroll around, huh? Let's see what we have to see here.
Yeah, this is a cute little harbor area where visitors arrive from. Or to, I guess.
And these NPCs will be available when the Midsummer Festival is here, so this region is really only accessible during the Midsummer Festival.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot like the Yule area.
Yep.
Winter Home.
Yep.
I wanted to say Further Home, but that's what this is.
That's the name, Further Home.
Yes.
For you guide writers out there. All right, so I want to head to the tavern here, which is presumably just
Turn right,
through
there you
this
go.
way. Yep.
Yep.
Sleepy kitty. I have a sleepy kitty at my feet. Also,
It's a common ailment among.
I should take off that treasure bag thing real quick, just because that little.
Yeah, it's a little hard to see over, isn't it?
Yeah. Where is that on my? There we go. All right, done.
Yes, and this is for any level. There's no minimum level requirement to come here.
I would imagine some level of novice feat, perhaps. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, you do have. You would have to get through the intro stuff and get the.
And then, like you see here, you've got both gathering guests, which is the daily part of this specific part of the Midsummer event, and then the Midsummer getaway as well. And there's then all these gathering quests, and then the Majesty of Midsummer is of course the main festivity wrapper then there as well. And then in celebration of Midsummer to pick up your stuff, so it all counts. And now gathering guests. So what am I looking at here?
So gathering guests is a series of quests. There's 14 different locations. So the captain here wants your help in finding more people to come visit the island, and he's got some ideas of where you can go. So basically, you'd be doing the same thing as Inkjot or whatever her name was that brought you here. So you are to pick a place, go to it, find NPCs to recruit, to entice to come to the island. So they have each one of those separate locations has a 1 week cooldown. So you can do different locations every day, and hopefully it keeps it interesting.
All right.
But they send you all over Middle Earth, so you'd be leaving the island to go do those.
Okay, right. This is not the only thing to do here. So before we leave the Shield Isles again, let's figure out some of this other stuff. I assume really we're just looking for quest rings throughout the space, and do we have a number? We had a number at one point that I saw
of how many quests there are?
Yeah.
I think there's 12.
Okay.
And 13 being the gathering guests quest, and then there's 14 of those. So it depends on if you count each of those locations as a separate quest or not.
All right. So which one should I do here? Title treasures or housekeeping? Any preference?
Housekeeping is inside the hotel. This hotel. Why don't you go ahead and do that one?
Okay.
We can show our messy beds.
Oh, really? Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Yep, that'll be a new housing item. So I asked.
We were just talking about how I can't show it off because I forgot to give myself a kinship house or whatever. And am I going like through here?
Nope. You want to turn around and go back the other way. That takes you outside.
Oh, okay.
So if you turn right, there's one hotel room in that room with the. Nope, I think that's outside.
Nope, that's also outside.
Yep. So go back. Yep. Go past that pillar.
Okay.
Or those ones, that's fine too.
Okay.
Either of those 3 doors.
Okay, excellent.
But there's one door. There's another door in that dining room area that you went through.
Okay, sure. And that's where maybe this specific person is, or are we just looking at the bed?
No, we're just clean up dirty floor. So that should be a messy bed.
Not
so
anymore,
you can
it
have a
isn't.
messy bed at home, and now you made the bed. Good
Yeah.
job. So easy. I wish it was that easy in real life.
Someone had to put all those rivets in the headboard. Someone had to carry that thing in.
I'm sure it comes
Yeah.
apart. The
Oh.
frame, yeah.
All right, so festival style quests here that are not completely unfamiliar to people who are running festival style stuff.
Yep. There's
yep.
violence-free questing.
Okay. Is there violent questing as well?
No,
No,
not
Okay.
here. Nope, it's a friendly island. Feel free to explore and roam as a level 5 and not get attacked. So.
All right, well let us do that then. Let us roam the island a little bit and
Sure.
take care of some of these things. Whereabouts would you suggest I maybe head? Oh, actually, we can talk right here. Here is our barter matron.
There's where you can get your rewards.
We will show off really as many of the rewards that I can just kind of create as time permits here. But we have a new clothing item, new kind of tote
Yes,
bag.
we do.
There are the housing items we described about. There's some like planters and flowers and beds, both made and unmade. There's a new steed, new kite here that you could see.
I especially requested the kite because there's a quest here about flying your kite.
We haven't. When was the last time we did a kite? It's been a little.
Oh
while.
man, it's
I
yeah,
mean, like,
but
we had done them
so
for a while, but then they kind of
Yeah.
tapered off a bit. So
Yep, you had to scroll up a bit to find the last time we did a kite. I'm not sure when that was, but
Yeah. Well, either way, we got one.
But also,
here, so.
the quests we've done before in festivals where you fly a kite, it's like you click on this pole and now you're flying the kite that goes to that pole. I figured out with help how to make a quest so you can fly your own kite. So you can get the new festival kite or just use one you already have.
I don't think it's hooked up yet on Palantir, unfortunately.
Oh.
Denied.
Oh, wait, no, I see it. Zoom out.
Yeah. No,
I saw its tails.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, is it just a... Oh, here we
There
go.
it
Okay, I
is.
just had to reset.
Yeah, I guess your string
Excellent.
just wasn't rendering very well.
Yeah.
There you go.
Excellent. Excellent.
So that's
Oh,
a
that
new
looks
kite.
pretty nice. Nice.
Yeah, so...
Let's let that float here for a second while we talk.
And I just want to say I'm very excited to, when the festival comes out, to just sit on the dock there and watch everybody running around with kites. This is for me. I did
Question:
that to myself.
Are there enough quests in the new area to complete the daily wrapper?
I didn't calculate it, but I think it's I think the daily wrapper is less quests than are on the island. So I think so. Yes, I hope so.
Yeah. A flock of seagull cat conundrum. Well, maybe I shouldn't spoil
Yeah.
the cat conundrum. Chase off irksome seagulls. All right. Well, let's do that.
Yeah, this one's fun too. You don't have to do anything but run up to them, which
Oh,
is
really?
it's as realistic as possible.
Oh, very nice. Just don't have food. Don't be eating
Right?
that lembas spread. You'll
my
regret
gosh.
it.
Seagulls are so bad.
Yeah.
I'm originally from San Francisco, and I remember as a kid one time went to San Francisco Zoo and I saw a guy get hot dogs, set them at his table, like turn around to get ketchup, and they just swooped down and stole his hot dog, the entire thing.
I have seen some pretty heinous bird criminal behavior myself.
Yeah.
So
Crimes.
yeah, crimes against food.
Sorry, that's my dog, if you can hear him.
Yeah. No, I do not believe we have bird droppings in the Lord of the Rings Online, so that particular functionality as suggested could potentially happen in our game. Unfortunately, is not possible that I'm aware of. So
For what? Seagulls to
poop.
steal your food?
No, poop. You can't poop on your head. We don't have
Oh,
that
to poop.
functionality in Lucher. that I'm aware
No,
of.
we don't have that yet.
No. Yeah.
But I don't know if we
We
if have
haven't hit
more,
that level of realism. So
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
some art resources in the future could be diverted to that, but I think they might be
Oh my
it might
gosh,
be
you
better
can't
for them to
believe
do
the
other
art
things.
task I got today.
Yeah. I'm sure the artists are often surprised when they get festival tasks. Like, what?
Can you complete your Midsummer daily without leaving the island? I think is basically another way of saying what we just stated, but I believe the answer is yes, you should be able to.
I think so. All of the quests qualify, I'll say that. So
Mhm.
you can pick up the daily, you can turn in the daily, you can talk to the barter lady, and I believe there are more quests to do on the island than are required by the daily. So I haven't tested it, so but I'm pretty sure the answer to that is yes.
Okay.
I also want to say I don't know if you got music going in the game or if players can hear it.
Yes, and I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, or viewers, I should say. But
Yeah.
the when you go there as a player, I want you to know that one of my absolute favorite things about this entire island and its experience is the music.
Nice.
Yeah,
You
Bill
know,
knocked it out of the park. He understood the assignment.
one of the housing rewards are two of the musical themes that I believe are
Music
from
boxes,
here. Is
right?
that correct? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to put those in my house. Actually, I haven't bought a new house yet after moving servers. I
I'm
thought I
on
would.
super speedy mode just to show this. What
Mhm.
else should we? How big is this? How far does it go out?
There should be a map, but I'm not sure.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it's pretty sizable. I mean, you can get an idea of scale from like the size of the rings there, but it's not massive, but it's not tiny either. And there's a little offshoot island that there's not much there, but some seashells, I think, right now. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh, there's definitely a lot of room to expand and do things in the future.
And before we get too far along, do you have a next related to festival events? Do you have something you would be comfortable sharing at this time about what your
Yep.
next plans are?
Yep, I'm already. Actually, I just am wrapping up Farmer's Fair quests.
Okay.
There's a new little. It's a smaller endeavor than this. This is definitely probably other than like the expansion that we're making in the fall. This is my biggest project of the year, but it's a much smaller situation for Farmer's Fair. But yeah, there are some additional quests going in there. I'm not going to be able to put anything in Harvest Math, unfortunately, because we'll be working on an expansion, but I do have some plans for Yule, so we'll see how that works out. No promises, but I have plans.
On the other hand, Harvest Math already does also have two areas, really.
Yeah, it has the
The-
Wither.
yeah,
I
the name
was
is skipping
just
my head
there.
right now, but and someone in chat's like, "Oh my gosh, people!" Yep, you're not wrong.
I know
Yeah,
my words don't come to me easily. Like in general, they're there. It's just
Wistmead,
the Rolodex of my mind finding them.
Wistmead,
Yes,
right?
with me.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right. Well, see, we're thinking summer, not. I mean, it's Friday the 13th today, so there is some tie, in
It
fact.
is.
But you know, all right.
Yeah.
We've got a few minutes here. Why don't we show off the new stuff? But while I am here, take care of something. All right. Of someone
you
fighting
you
mods
pick.
from the Discord on our chat, and I had to take
Oh
care of
yeah.
that real quick.
So to get here, for those of you who are just coming in, there is when the festival is active, when Midsummer Festival is active, there's an NPC in the Prancing Pony. That's the easiest one to find. The second easiest would be the one in Minas Tirith, Midsummer. She is sitting on a low wall right behind the Daily Rapper lady, whose name I can't recall, in front of the city stables right there on the ground level. So
Cool. I am quickly just getting some items populated in my inventory. And we're going to show off some of the new Midsummer stuff that I can show off. Particularly we already showed off the kite, but I'll show off the cosmetic gear and the steed here as well. Here we go. And
beachfront Margaritaville condos would be awesome. That would be neat. The problem I think in game, as in with real life, is demand for the actual beachfront property, right? Like we already have people fighting over certain addresses, but if you think about it, Belfalis housing area is beachfront. It's just like less tropical.
There's a seaside bow head wrap. You can have a bow on, or a
You can put a
seaside
bow
sun
on.
hat. Well, I'll
I look
start with
forward
the
to seeing
sun hat.
dwarves. I
Yeah.
look forward to dwarves with the bow on. That'll be
All
great.
right. And there's our one costume, and then we got the seaside tote here. This sword is clearly not gonna.
Yeah, your shoulder armor there is still.
Yeah. Let me take care of a couple of things here real quick. Yeah.
Yeah, there are some players that have been asking for years for swimsuits, and obviously, Lotro is a more modest game than some others, so it's very covering. But they are inspired by like the swimsuits from like the 20s and like Victorian era bathing suits. So yeah.
I think I've got it. No, I'm a hobbit and I'm wearing shoes, but just for the purposes of showing this outfit, we will allow this hobbit to wear shoes just for the purposes of showing this outfit. But here we go. Nice little wading outfit. And
Dwarf in a speedo, only if he puts the bow on his head.
I don't think Speedo meets minimum coverage
No,
requirements.
no.
I'm sorry, but I don't think we're going to be seeing that in our game anytime soon. However, you can put a bow on your head, so, we do have that. All right. Well,
there are sandals for the person asking about flip flops. I think they're in the more recent content. I don't think the sandals are for Midsummer. They're
okay.
Just in our Umbar expansion, one of the appearances or something like that. I'm pretty sure we have sandals. So
okay, and then I need to let's see the steed here. It's called the Seaside Steed. And, color appropriate matching blue. Kind of light blue. Whatever you want.
Someone's asking if you can dye the swimsuit. I am not entirely sure. I'm not involved with its making, but I should certainly hope so. Do you have any dye?
Oh, I don't think I do. I don't think I do, no. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. I would suggest someone like your Fibro Jedi guide coming out next week will certainly give you an answer. And if I have time, I'll try to get you an answer too. I just don't happen to know at the moment. So, Coconut Pete, yes. Will the game set in a time before the Victorian so full body swimsuit Maria? Yeah, well, I mean, it was a long time. It wasn't just pre-Victorian. I mean, even today we wear wetsuits. Kind of the same basic thing. They just look different.
I guess if it's cold water, maybe the water there, like the air is warm, but the water is ice cold.
Yeah.
Look at the waves. Yeah, they're pretty neat. I was surprised.
Oh, you're right. The waves are cool.
I
was actually saw that earlier in the stream here. I had that out just because it was pretty neat to see him roll in. Kind of through the one thing there was a good screenshot. So, well, I do have Sev coming on in just a couple minutes, and I did want to get people a little bit prepared to talk about this stuff, and we've just had some fun. So, you'll be seeing this as a player. Let me just wrap up this part of the show by getting you the dates and times. But it kicks off, I'm going off the top of my head, let's just say, am I correct? Thursday, 10 a.m.? I think I'm correct, Thursday, 10 a.m.
Yep, that's what I have.
Alright, so, next Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern, and it runs through July 7th. It'll be shut off at 3 a.m. Eastern on Tuesday, July 8th. So you really have through Monday, July 7th, really through the July 4th holiday, in the United States anyway, to celebrate this Midsummer. And there we go. So thank you so much, MVP, for joining me here on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
I
hope everyone has fun.
Yep. Thank you so much. I'm going to mute you and get a few things taken care of here so that I can prepare for when Sev joins me. And thank you so much, MVP, for being here. All right. One quick second for those on stream while I get some things going. Well, I'm enjoying these waves. Let's just keep these waves going. And just there you go. I'm just gonna tell MVP that they can in fact leave the call. And I've got Sev up for the second. While we wait for him, got some stuff I can talk about. So we had a pretty big announcement that we have been working for some time on, and just made today. And we're going to go over some of the basics here before Sev gets on, and then when he's available, he can answer not just these questions, but also perhaps other questions that you might have. And that is today, we have announced the closure of our 32-bit game worlds. This will be after our transfer period of through August 31st. And we have an article up on locher.com right now that'll pretty much get you all the information you need to know. But we're going to be here for the next half hour answering some questions as well. I do see you on, Sev, in my call. I don't yet see your camera active, but that's fine. Take the time you need. All right, I am working to get Sev on here. Either I'm going to cause a gigantic window effect or not. Here we go. I did. Well, let me sort through this quick. Just stay quiet here real quick, Sev, while I sort you out. There you are, as you appear on my camera. Let me make sure you are not muted, and people should be able to hear you now, Sev. So if you want to say hello.
Can you hear me?
We can indeed. Thank you so much for being able to take time out of what is really a pretty busy week, obviously, for you as well, to answer some questions for us here on the live stream. I was just getting into the announcement following a preview of the Midsummer Festival on one of our internal game worlds here. And so we're here to talk a little bit about what we just announced, the closure of our 32-bit game worlds, the remainder of our 64-bit transfer process, and really answer just all the questions that are going to carry us through August 31st. Sure. And we have a nice full chat room, I think, ready to ask some questions. So probably the first question is, why? Why now?
So, first of all, I wanted to jump in and kind of, I know that people have been going through a lot in the transfer, and I appreciate that. There's some stuff that happened that we weren't expecting. And yeah, I know that the 32 World announcement seems a little abrupt. Honestly, we had hoped to have a much longer time in order to do that. So sometimes the reality of the business is that there's a data center or a contract and scheduling and such that sort of changes over time. And I was expecting to have more time in order to have the 32-bit servers in the current data center, but it turns out that that situation has changed. And so we had to make some hard decisions about how we were going to handle that. That data center changing, going away, the contracts changing. And we want to get everybody onto the 64-bit servers anyway. So we made the move to move people over. They should have plenty of room with the new servers. So yeah, that's sort of what we're looking at. I would have loved to have more time in order for people who are on the current servers to, migrate and pick their servers. And we still have some months, but the current servers are both contractually and from a hardware standpoint problematic. And that's one of the issues that we're running across.
So what we're doing is we're continuing our free transfer period through August 31st, which is on the same timetable we announced earlier. And then what we're planning to do in the future is to reopen these worlds as dark worlds, similar to what is currently going on with our old dark worlds, where people can use the transfer service to transfer from the 32-bit worlds to the 64-bit worlds in the future, but they won't be able to log into these 32-bit worlds. So it's really important that people, by the end of August, do everything they need to do to get ready for transfer, even if they don't technically transfer yet.
Yeah. The other thing I would expect is that when August, at the end of August, that the old 32-bit worlds will become for a time unavailable as we kind of pick them up and move them. So I would get the transfer done so you're not like waiting on them to reopen.
Yep.
They'll come back and people will still be able to do that, but yeah, we won't be able to. I would try to transfer beforehand.
Yeah, for example, one of the things we're really encouraging people to do is if you were a kinship leader, abandon or sell your kinship house, depending on the kind of kinship house it is. And the reason for that is while we may be able to do some work in the future to sort of force abandon kinship housing, we really want you to do that on your own before the world's closed for access. All right, so today we still have some customer support requests that we are working through. Some, say, kinship escrow issues that we are working through this week that we've been working through. What do people need to know if they are still working with customer support or dealing with some kind of issue from the transfers earlier this year?
So from the escrow situation, we were having customer support help people who was going too slow. So we're forcing the situation back on their home server. What will happen is as we're going through server by server, you'll see your escrow things appear in your account storage. I believe is the case over time. I think that we got through a lot of
Yeah.
Arkenstone, but we're not done that, and we're
It's a
going
slow
through. So
process, and by that I mean 24 hours plus per some of these game worlds. And so we started it this week, but it's just going to probably be, middle of next week before it's done or something.
yeah, I'm glad you're hitting the hard one because that was very disappointing to all of us that the escrow, and the worst part about it is that we didn't know because we rolled out housing after, like the escrow problem didn't kind of show itself until people reopened their housing to look for those items.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole thing was not what I would have liked to happen. But we're getting through those, and now we're kind of forcing them on the back so people don't have to wait for their tickets because people were waiting for their tickets for too long. And so in the background, we have people manually just forcing them back in. So as you're going through, you'll be able to watch for your escrow items to appear in your account back on the home world, and then you'll be able to move those onto another character and transfer that.
Yeah, and we'll have a formal announcement when we've completed the process, but if it shows up, you're welcome to do a shared item transfer from your former destination or origin world to your current destination world. And you don't
Yeah,
need to even have a character to do that. The shared items transfer can be done through the game launcher, even if there are no characters on that world. So,
sure.
Treebeard.
So I was just looking at some of the questions on
Yeah.
Treebeard. We'd like to give the Treebeard people an experience, the opportunity to get all of the cloaks and frames. I think that the Treebeard cloaks and frames only go to 130. I don't think there's a 140 and 150 version
Right.
of them.
I believe that's why we set it
So
to 130, in fact.
right, and that's
Yeah.
why we want people to have that chance to do that. As for so, Daybreak has been great about you know, really investing into the games, but the hardware that's required for 64-bit and the space is expensive. And so spinning up a whole new one uh, for Treebeard players, I think that more likely we're going to, if people didn't quite make it, uh, we'll look at some other opportunity because I just don't think we have the data center space to start flipping on, large uh, heavy 64-bit server architecture and technology in order to have the smaller servers move over um, for the experience stuff.
Treebeard is tough,
Uh,
and that I think we've commented in the past about how we recognize Treebeard's current population is fairly low as well. People have enjoyed their experience in Treebeard, and there are still some players on Treebeard who are really enjoying that experience, which is why we want to give them that ability to do the best we can. But the server itself, in terms of all of our legendary worlds we've debuted, is smaller in scope than
sure.
really I think pretty much any of the others.
Yeah. Well, we have the Stone of the Turtle, and we felt that
Yeah.
up to this point had been sufficient. So we didn't really have an incentive to make a XP modifying NPC like the Hardened Traveler. I mean, we could probably add a little bit of tech and do that, but we really need to know that like that is something that the players would benefit much more from just getting the Stone of the Turtle.
Yeah. All right, so we're not announcing new game worlds here because we already did. So we've got Sting, Glamdring, and Peregrine on the US side, and Grand Orcrist and Meriadoc as our 64-bit standard game worlds moving forward here. And then we'll continue to have Angmar and Mordor as our legendary worlds here. And really, it's just a matter of getting all the remaining 32-bit folks over onto these 64-bit worlds. You want as many people as possible to be able to do this. And once all this is done, we're moving forward with 3 and 3 essentially, 4 and 4, including the legendaries, just sort of long term. What about? It's been a trip this year. Let me just say that for the record. It's been a trip this year. Going back, when you think all the way back to where we sat in January 1st at this time versus today, it's been a journey, has it not? What's our thoughts about, say, Orcrist in particular? Trying to we are allowing more people to go to Orcrist is what I'm getting at here, and we know that Orcrist is in a challenging state. So what do we want to do there?
So Orcrist is a whole thing, right? One of the things that we're looking at is the technology that we added. I know it's going to be hard to hear this. So we know that there's lag on Orcrist. We want to address it. From what we can tell, it's no longer on the central server, which that is actually, with our new technology, in good shape.
Yeah.
As we look at the charts, we're not seeing lag from that. What's happening is, what we're really seeing lag is there's something in the group content that's causing problems. And what we're seeing is, sometimes if you're in Bree or in the festival area, you can lag a little bit, but really it's about, as far as I can tell, group content. When we were looking at the other servers on the landscape, it was pretty good. So there are a couple of things going on. One is we had a problem where certain servers would essentially run out of resources and start thrashing until we rebooted. And what would happen is the people who experienced lag on the landscape would hit one of those servers as it moved people in and out. We have put in changes that will extend the time and give those more resources, and then let them get a chance to recover. And what we've seen is that looks better. I can't, from our data, I can't yet say that it looks 100%, but it looks better. This is why we stopped on Orcrist doing the Friday resets, because that technology is in place, and the Friday resets were specifically to address that problem. Mm-hmm. So it's good that that's in. There may be more to do there, and we have to look at it. The problem is in PvMP and in some of the 6-man and 12-man is really way more expensive than we expected, and quite frankly, way more expensive than the older content. Like, we saw some of that stuff in Mordor and Moria, and we were looking and comparing, and we're looking at that now. Our main focus on lag on Orcrist is going to be what's happening. What is it? The sharing of effect information? Is it something with the fellowship? There's some problem that when you get a whole bunch of people fellowship together and looking at each other, it gets ugly. Now, there's also some keys in like PvMP where you'll get some frame rate drops because there's so much that the players are doing and so much effect work, and I kind of want to look at that. But the stuff that we're really trying to address is the 5-second plus skill delay that you might hit. The other issue on Orcrist PvMP is that anytime there are certain places where there's a boundary between landscapes, and the characters at high level are heavy. So as you step across the landscape, especially if you're going back and forth as during a fight, that's going to serialize. That will be a longer term problem. In the meantime, we have changed that so that the main avenues of fighting are away from those. But if you happen to wander off into those areas, you'll still see that, like, you step over the line, it moves you from server to server. And what's worse is if you don't know where you are, you might shoot and then come back and run into that problem.
Yeah, it's not
So
like
all of
there's
those
a
things are stuff
tree
that
or
we're
a
working
line
on.
in the ground that you know when you're crossing land blocks as a
Right.
player. So it's just sort of it reads as just sort of out of the blue lag in some ways. So
Yeah, I think
yeah.
that Orion's done a good job of taking those out of the main fighting
Mhm.
areas, but you never know where in PvP where people will engage. So that's something on that.
Yeah. In some
So
ways,
yeah, so
PvP
back
is
to
its own pillar, though, because I think what we're saying, though, is that there's work that needs to be done on the PvMP side and work that needs to be done on the group content side. And the two are somewhat separate pillars, and that one isn't necessarily going to impact the other.
my suspicion right now is that there's either fellowship or effect sharing code that's causing this, and that once we look at it, like it should get better in on both sides.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Someone else was talking about the escrow stuff.
mhm.
Again, I apologize for that. The transfer service has been around for many years, and that was just a hole that we missed. That's on us. I just wasn't expecting certain functionality to just not be there, and it wasn't a bug. It was like the escrow actually never, like we had to add code for that. It never transferred.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was bad on us. Like we did a lot of transfers to test it, and just it's one of those things that like, you do a lot of testing, and as soon as the player goes in, they do something that's obvious in hindsight when we looked at it. And if we had caught it early, it would have been less of an issue. But because we turned on housing after the fact, so many people transferred that there was just a lot of activity,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. That kind of multiplied it. So yeah, the people who are basically yelling at me for that development, that's totally on us. You're absolutely right. I apologize for it.
One of the things I would give for advice to the question of I still have a ticket outstanding with customer support related to a transfer issue from whenever this year. What do I need to do? Should I transfer again? I would say work with your customer support agent specifically. They can provide guidance on that. But in general, a lot of the work that we are doing will resolve these tickets before you will face a deadline to transfer. So perhaps wait to work with your customer support agent, wait for this automatic work related to kinship housing to be escrow. Stuff to be done. And then, if there are any remaining issues, make sure you do work with a customer support agent to get those addressed prior to transfer.
Yeah. I know sometimes it seems weird also, and I know it's become kind of a meme, but when people go to the Orcus channel or online and they actually, when they're talking about lag, provide a loc, that's actually really helpful. Even if I don't respond to you specifically, as I go back and catch up on the thing, looking at the locs and what's happening there from the server percentage, like it may not seem it, but it's been so. I appreciate people taking the extra time. That was awesome.
In general, Jim, Nanny, you do not need to sell your premium or classic housing prior to transfer. The only people that do are kinship leaders. You may choose to, but you don't need to, and in general, you probably shouldn't. Will locked characters from the quote Shadow Worlds be available again? Let's separate that out as we get close to sort of wrapping up this main bit of news, and then go into perhaps wider Q&A. And that is, we have current Dark Worlds transfers that are going on through August 31st. Once those transfers are over, those Dark Worlds will be shuttered and will not be made available again. We announced today a plan to turn our current 32-bit game worlds into dark worlds in the future. And those will reopen for character transfer from, very similar to what we're offering right now with the dark worlds. Can you talk a little bit more about the process of maybe what expectation can we set about these worlds returning as dark worlds?
So the confusing thing is there are current worlds that have been closed and we've made characters available for them, which we've kind of slang referred to as dark worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the current 32-bit worlds, which will remain, uh, the characters will remain to transfer for a long time. What we're thinking is 2 years. We'll give everybody a chance to, even if you miss next pack, the next pack after that, you'll be able to come back and still get your characters. So that's the minimum amount of time we want to make it available. The current worlds we made available for a short amount of time because we know that we're moving out of this data center and we're going to have to basically put those into cold storage. So you want to make sure that you get your characters off of those, or if you have friends or kinmates or something, they get those off before they close again, because you won't have an opportunity for that. For the current worlds, they will become basically closed worlds where you can transfer off, but you can't play on them, and those will be around for a long time. So the hard part about the messaging is we have one thing that says the old worlds that no longer are playable will be available for a short time, but the current 32-bit worlds will be available much longer in order to get your characters off, if that makes sense.
Yep. Before I move away from the page, Sev, we're killing the old forums.
Yeah, the old forums are going away. Unfortunately, the technology they're built on is just, we can't update it. We
Yep.
can't keep it going. So
I had a whole bunch of people approach me in a sensitive manner because they were concerned that I was going to be taken pretty hard, and they're not wrong. I love these old forums, and we did the best we could to try to keep them and available in a read-only state for, I guess we managed, about three some years here. But the reality is those old forums do also need to go. So make sure you copy anything left over that you want on there and update the wiki links to the best of your ability and such, and get that done before August 31st.
Yeah.
I thought we would maybe move to general Q&A.
I assume,
yeah.
Someone was like, I assume there's growing technical debt, and I'm like, yeah. Every time we mention technical debt, like our entire technical team like twitches. This significant technical debt that accumulates over the years as we're going through and trying to move forward the technology, and that's one of the issues.
Yeah.
But like these new servers will fix a lot of that. So that's good. I'm also really psyched that we were able to help out our European players by getting actual European servers where I'm hoping their ping is much lower.
Yep.
Despite the Orcrist, the Orcrist challenges.
Have you heard anything? We have a question in chat that I don't personally know the answer to, so I'm going to kind of fling it your way and see if it gets, if you can answer it. And that is about the deed log. Do you know anything about the updated deed log and it perhaps returning at some point?
I do. The deed log got shuttered because right now we're working. So there's a couple of reasons. One is there's still some outstanding issues with it. There's still some features in the old deed log that aren't available to it. And then we realized that, like, as we're working on 4K updates in order to have more things scale for 4K, like a lot of the UI on Lotro scales for 4K, but not everything. And I'm sure anyone who uses 4K has like been squinting and putting on reading glasses in order to read some of that. It makes no sense to work on it now and then redo it for 4K. So it's shuttered until we get the 4K in, and then we can relook at it. But I think that before we went there, we'd have to go in, and there's just some features that need to be added to it, and some things that need to be cleaned up before we brought it back.
There's a question from Dagger Thief. Are there any improvements to the 64-bit worlds still? That goes a little bit to what we talked about earlier, specifically about Orcrist, but is worth pursuing, because if there are issues, say, in general, with large grouping communication, that's having a game impact, or an issue with PVMP, even if it's on a world where there isn't necessarily a lot of PVMP, that'll be an improvement when that gets fixed for everybody. That's not just an Orcrist thing. It may be manifesting most frequently in Orcrist due to its current limits that it's straining against, but all the game worlds will see a benefit from that. I think, though, the answer is largely from a tech... Yeah, right? Go ahead.
We talk about Orcrist, right? But Glamdring is almost as big now, and in group content, Glamdring is seeing some of the same stuff, and even Peregrine and Meriadoc are large enough now that, like, in group content. The thing is that you see people who run the raid with no lag because the server, it just didn't happen that they got kind of stacked on the same server instance with other groups, and so they have like an awesome experience, and then our people get stacked 4 deep on a specific boss. Also, I think the Wing 3 middle boss, I think that particular boss is very heavy, and if you get stacked on a server with that boss, like I think everybody, I think that's the one. So
I think this hints at some of the work that we had done earlier this year on Orchestra, where we had made announcements that we were able to say add hardware or technology to essentially the Orchestra footprint as Orchestra was filling up full of people and getting larger and larger. We pretty much hit that limit, from what I understand.
for Orchestra,
Yeah,
the fact that Orchestra runs fairly well, other than the group content, I know that's hard for you to hear if you're on Orchestra and frustrated with lag. But with 2,000 players, where our previous limit was like 1,200, is like amazing. So that's great. But yes, like I know that once they hit their limit, which they do often, that they get stacked up in that group content and run into those lag issues that we have to look at.
yep. Well, we have got about 4 minutes, and I am not seeing an immediate question to answer. So now's a great time. If you got a question that you'd like to answer in chat, please do give it to us now. We are working on Update 45. That's been going through the bull roar process, and that'll be arriving. I would need to look up the specific date of Update 45 here, but coming pretty soon is how I would describe it. And that'll have the Midsummer. Actually, the Midsummer stuff is already in. Let me look quick. I'm trying to figure out our preview schedule here as we have a few more minutes.
I think I saw one of our devs talk about Rivendell housing up above, so it's coming. Not immediately, but it's still on its way.
Yeah, just taking a quick at the calendar. Other than Midsummer, we do have a beta planned for Update 45, our full roar preview of Update 45, tentatively set for next week. We also will be setting, Treebeard to its 130 cap next Wednesday as well, kicking off transfers to Grond and Sting. And then the Midsummer Festival begins on Thursday, and then we'll have more information on the timing of Update 45 and the following weeks after that. But it'll be within the next however much time.
I see a lot of questions
Month or
about
so.
the new X-Pack, and I don't want to spoil that by talking about it right now. So I am excited about it as I'm seeing like landscape for it come through, and it's just gorgeous, and all of the new areas. So that's super exciting. And the key art and the concept art and how that's coming across for creatures and NPCs. So I'm super excited about that. But that's like that's pretty obvious, that's an obvious answer. So
yeah, agreed.
So,
Only Frosty, yes, Burglar and Hunter, my understanding is, if not the next preview, certainly in the Update 45 preview cycle, we'll be taking a look at Burglar and Hunter on Bull Roar. I'm not sure of any crafting events.
Aren't they already on? Aren't they already on Bull Roar and Hunter?
Well, I have been busy writing this article. I have to admit, I have not been paying attention.
I didn't mean to give you a hard time.
I am not aware of the current status of future crafting events. I believe, generally, Orion being one of the people who was heavily involved in the creation of those, I think he's got a lot of work on his plate. That would be my guess. But perhaps you can ask him at some point here in the future.
Yeah. I'd love to spend some time to do a quality of life update once we're done with the X-Pack, and I think the team would like that too. But we'll be looking at that. I don't know what the next avatar is. I don't think we've decided whether it's going to be a dwarf or hobbit first. I think we were thinking hobbit next, but
I've heard that kicked around, but I don't know either.
Yeah,
so.
I think it was hobbit next.
Yeah. Well, I think it is now. No, I'm just kidding. You can always change your mind. It's 12:59 p.m. Nothing we say at this point matters. No, I'm kidding.
The elves are getting touched up still, so you should see there will be some clipping issues. We don't want to. It's up to the players to find kind of good combinations. And if it's an obvious clipping issue, like something's placed wrong, then we will fix that. But we don't want to start disallowing combinations because they clip, because some players may find things that they like. And so some of that is, if it's like a tall collar and long hair, we're not going to special case it or try to disallow those. But if it's things like the shoulder isn't quite in the right place, those are things that we're constantly looking
yeah.
and fixing up.
Yeah, because you want flexibility, but you also, especially given sort of the limitations to some extent of multiple characters and trying to make it all fit on the development side, you do kind of want to give people the choice. But at the same time, it does sometimes will cross into bug, and then we just have to look at it and go, okay, well, that one's a bug. Well, I mean, and have to make the determination really on a per clip basis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Right.
I think that's
going
to do it. We are out of time, and I've got things to do. So let's go wrap this up. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LotraStream. This is up on YouTube later. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, thank you so much for watching. Giving us a like is the single easiest thing you could do to help spread the word about the Lord of the Rings online on YouTube, and we would much appreciate it. Thank you, Sev, for joining us here this week, and we'll have you on again sometime this summer, I would assume. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
All
right. Thanks.
Yep. Bye-bye. Let me quick cut that off, and we should be good to go. I am going to wrap up the show here myself. We have got Tolkien Professor on, Druid's Fire on after that, and a full schedule, which you can find over on LotraStream. Hope you're having a great weekend in the Lord of the Rings Online. I will talk to you again next week. Bye-bye.